Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a nice Sunday. I'm coming to you on this Sunday because I just had, I just was reading some stuff on the internet, and a lot of the ideas I have for blogs and stuff like that is stuff that I read on the internet or see on the internet or comments people make and stuff like that. And I think, that there's something maybe I need to talk um, about this. And I was really, um, I was going to wait until tomorrow, but tomorrow and Tuesday, I've got some work to do and stuff, and won't be able to do blogs. I'll be kind of busy and stuff. So, but I wanted to do this today so I can just sort of get this out of the way. And I want to talk about it's not marriage fault. And I know a lot of people are always down on marriage and talking about marriage about this and marriage about that and how terrible marriage is and how they really don't like marriage and don't trust marriage and this and that. And I keep thinking to myself, well, really, is that marriage fault or is that your fault? And so I saw some comments on my Facebook page that I like called Black Women with Other Brothers from some black women. And, she was talking about some stuff about Halle Berry and her baby daddy drama and all that sort of stuff. And saying to black women how it's really beneficial if they marry their partner, especially if you're going to have children, if you marry the person that you're going to have children with, and it's beneficial. And so then there were all these comments about, well, it really doesn't matter and stuff. And I'm just like, well, yeah, it does matter. It matters if you're married. You get lots of protection and rights and all this good stuff, and you get over thousands and thousands of rights, you know, if you get married to somebody, than if you're just kind of doing whatever you're doing, the baby mama, baby daddy thing and stuff. And so this some person was like, well, I'm just really leery of marriage. And I thought, well, why would that be marriage's fault if you're really leery of marriage? That has nothing to do with marriage. That has to do with you not being able to maybe pick a suitable partner for marriage, and stuff. As you know, I was married previously, and this is my second marriage. And, I wasn't, after my divorce, I thought, well, maybe I didn't want to be married again and stuff. And it wasn't particularly because I thought marriage was a bad thing. I just thought that maybe I wasn't very good at picking people, and stuff. And I just thought, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not really good at this thing and stuff. And so I, was like, and stuff. But after a while, after doing some work on myself and doing what I needed to do to be better, and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I could marry somebody again and stuff. And then my husband comes along and he's such a great person. I just can't imagine not being married to him and stuff. And so, I got married to him, but I didn't blame it on marriage. It's kind of like someone going to a job and then leaving the job and then saying, I'm leery of work. I had that job and that it just really didn't work out. So I'm really leery of work, and that doesn't make any sense. Okay. Marriage has nothing to do with you not being able to pick a suitable partner for marriage. That's really on you. And so what you really probably should be saying is, well, maybe I'm not prepared for marriage. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm not at a point where I'm prepared for marriage or know what it means to be married or how to pick a suitable partner for marriage and all that sort of stuff. It's more with you than it ever has to do with the institution of marriage. Marriage is a wonderful thing, very beneficial, okay? For husband, for wife, and for children, especially and stuff. And so this talk of, well, I don't really know, and that's not really what we should be, and I don't really understand all this. You talk about marriage for black women as something that they should know that they have the right to do and need to do, especially if they're having children. And then all these women start talking about, well, it's more than just about snagging husbands. I'm not talking about snagging a husband, okay? Anybody could get some fool to marry, okay? That's not difficult. I'm talking about somebody doing what they need to do to be a suitable spouse and to find a suitable spouse. I'm not talking about just picking some nitwit off the street and marrying them, and stuff. We're talking about doing what you need to do to make sure that you're prepared for the institution of marriage. I don't really know how the option of not being married and having a bunch of children is somehow worse than being married and trying to be a mature adult and work out your marriage. Okay, I don't know how the other option is just somehow just so much greater and so much awesomer, and stuff, except for people who are immature and really don't want to do the work that it takes to get married. Okay, so I mean, I don't really understand all the talk of, I didn't really want to, marry him and all this stuff. But I'm thinking, but you had a baby with the person, and somehow it seems as if marriage is really serious. Yeah, marriage is really serious. It's super serious. But somehow people seem to think that having a baby is just sort of like nothing, which having a child is really super serious. So I'm not really understanding how those two ideas kind of mesh themselves, as well, just as an excuse for not, hey, taking the time out, getting to know this person, thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have a baby with a person that I'm not married to, and we're not really committed to each other, and stuff and all this stuff. It just I don't really, that's really on you, not on marriage and stuff. And it's not fair for people to somehow tell black women, well, it's not going to happen for you and you won't get married. And it's really okay if you don't get married and stuff. You can still have kids. And then you end up setting them up for full time failure. Okay. When they're with a child alone, no support, running after the baby daddy, all in court, back and forth all the time, if that's what they have to do, he wants to prove paternity. People trying to have, fights over what's going to happen with the kids. This, that, and the other over two people that were never, ever really committed to one another and stuff. The thing is, even if you get married and get a divorce, okay, the child still has two parents. There were still two parents. There were still two people here somewhere that were committed to this child and still committed to this child. Okay, and this thing of, oh, well, yeah, that's just that's not the only thing you should be looking for. No, yeah, it is. It is the only thing you should be looking for. You should be looking for a full commitment and a ring and all that stuff. You should be picking out, trying to make sure that you know who you are and have some good self-confidence, know what you need, know that you can work within a marriage, and then picking out a husband that can do the same. Yeah, it matters. It matters. It's just so much better to have two folks together raising a child than it is to have one. And I would never ever in my life tell black women that it is okay for them not to be married and have kids when I wouldn't do that myself. Okay, and all this leeriness about marriage or not liking marriage really has nothing to do with marriage. It is you. It is because you don't know how to pick a suitable partner. It is because you're not ready for marriage. It is because you're not at a place where you need to be married. That's all on you. Okay? And so the talk of, oh, well, marriage isn't yeah, it is. It's the ideal. Yeah, it is. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, it's the ideal. It is. And that's why so many people who are in same-sex relationships want to be married. Because, yeah, it's the ideal. It's ideal. You get all these rights. You get all this good stuff being married. Yeah, you do. In this country, in the United States, you sure do. Yeah, and stuff. And so I would never, ever, ever, never, ever tell black women that, marriage is not an option, or you shouldn't seek to be married, or no one will marry you. That's a lie. Don't believe that lie. That's a lie. If black women start exercising their options, really vetting and looking for good partners and getting themselves together, they can have a good marriage, a happy family, and all that kind of stuff. Don't listen to folks that's bitter about marriage. That's their bitterness, not yours. Okay? Don't listen to them people. Okay? Because they'll have you in the same boat they're in. Bitter, angry, you got some baby, two babies, three babies. with somebody and you're abandoned and they're halfway there. They're maybe sending you a check and it's probably not enough to do nothing with and stuff. And you're still there trying to raise a baby or have Big Mama raise your baby or have your auntie come over here or your sister or somebody else helping you to the village, as they say, to raise your child when it should be you and a committed husband in a committed marriage. Okay? I just had to say something about this because I was just getting sick of hearing about it. It's not marriage fault. It's not marriage fault that you're not ready for marriage. It's not marriage fault that you're not good at marriage. It's not marriage fault that you don't know how to pick a suitable partner. That's not marriage fault. That's your fault. So why don't you get yourself together? Okay? Now, hey, if you know that you can't do all that, if you know that you can't really be in a marriage partnership with somebody, if you know that you can't do the work that it takes to be married, then fine. Not a problem. Not an issue at all. Don't be married. But you know what? Also, don't have kids. You know, children need both of you. Don't have children. Okay? Children need both of you. You know, they need that stability and security. You know, and I'm telling you, even if the people were divorced, okay, it would be more security than it is somebody getting married with somebody who is just a kind of halftime whatever. Okay, you know, just a halftime, you know, dad or not a dad or abandoned and has just left and you're on your own. Okay. So my light just went out. So, you know, but I wanted to say this because this talk of I'm leery of, and I'm just like, you're leery. Yeah. So what does it have to do with marriage if you're leery of marriage? It has nothing to do with marriage. That's on you. So, you know, but I'm tired of black women saying it. I'm tired of us, you know, kind of, you know, putting ourselves, you know, out to pasture. I'm tired of us, you know, treating ourselves like nothing. I'm tired of us not thinking we're worth more than just, you know, some dude's passing fancy. I'm tired of us being all messed up in the head and so messed up in the head that we think that stuff that's been working forever is somehow not for us. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of tired of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of dysfunction. I'm sick of people not being able to set up some boundaries for themselves and their lives so they can recognize evil and not let it into their lives so they know how to let good things into their lives. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And I want to do something about it. I want to talk about it. I want to say something. That's why I, you know, do these blogs and I do advice and I talk about books and I talk about therapy and I talk about getting help for stuff because it's no reason for us to be this dysfunctional, 80% out of wedlock. Okay, and I'm not talking about divorce. 80% out of wedlock, you know, with kids and thinking that somehow, yeah, you know, we're doing really great. It's really awesome. This is really awesome. Yeah, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay, and living in total delusion. You know, it's time to wake up to the truth. Look all around you. I see it all around me. Look all around you. Okay, look all around you. You know, and stuff. People telling me stuff on the internet, and I'm looking around me, and it don't even match. Stop lying to yourself. You know, this is not working. These young women out here having kids and being alone is going to be a detriment to the children and to them in the future. So stop lying. Stop acting like it's okay. Stop acting like it's all good. It's not. You know, and if you're leery of marriage, you know, then I suggest you don't get married. But don't bring your bitterness and your inability to know how to make good decisions and spread it out there like it's somehow you know what it is that you know what it is best for somebody, because you don't. And you know, the best thing for everybody in these situations with children is two married parents figure out how to be in a good marriage. There's all kinds of stuff everywhere. Get some therapy. You know, read some blogs and some books. There's lots of good stuff out there for people who want to be in good, stable marriages. It can happen, but you have to do the work, you know, and stuff. And so that's all I'm saying. But next time you hear somebody say something about being leery of marriage, wow, being leery of marriage, you know, then you need to tell them, really, it's not marriage's fault. That may be you. That may be on you, and that may be something that maybe you need to get right with yourself. That don't have nothing to do with marriage. And so I'm glad I'm saying it because I'm sick of hearing it. Oh, okay. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good week. Bye.